Dude, where's my car? Where's your car, dude?
Who told you you can eat my cookies?
Well, all I hear all day long at school is how great Marcia is at this or how wonderful Marcia did that. Marcia, Marcia, Marcia.
Pizza! Pizza, pizza, going Tommy. Me so hungry, me so hungry.
It's the Al Travis Show, and we have her on with us, Senator Susan Kent, with a little thing we like to call Clean Up in Aisle 9, or yeah, but. Quick question for you, Senator. Do you energy drink? Do you do those? You're shaking your head no. Okay.
I do not. I got my coffee energy drink right here. Yeah.
So I want to go through this with you, if you don't mind. How old were you when you decided coffee was your jam? Was pop ever in that mix?
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's be clear. My breakfast drink of choice till I was about 30 was Tab.
You and my brother-in-law still does Tab. You got to go out of your way to find that when he comes down. Holy crap. Okay. So getting into, I was a pop guy, Diet Mountain Dew. It was Mountain Dew back in the day, but radio guys were famous for just chugging coffee if you're a morning guy. And I'm like, I'm never going to be that guy. So it's much better that I use Diet Mountain Dew to be my drink of choice. Have done that for 60 years. And now Rev 7, I'm going to put another promo out for Rev 7, comes out, and Klein asked if I would try it and see what it's like. I've never done one of the energy drinks before because I always thought at my weight and my age, I would just like blow my heart out, right? I mean, I know what a young Mountain Dew.
Right.
Stuff tasted really good. It's, what is it? Green apple. Tasted really good.
Good.
It seems to interact like my Diet Mountain Dews. I'm going to be honest. I've had only one of these, and I would have had multiple Mountain Dews. So it seems to be doing what it's supposed to do, but I was scared to death to honestly try it with you. And I'm going, taste this. Why are you doing that? And she's thinking, like, like the kids, who was I with the other day? I do Red Bulls with the vodka or whatever. I go, go to the bar and have a beverage with that much caffeine?
Right. Well, because,
the
vodka could make you a little sleepy, and so you need the Red Bull to keep you
I've never
going
had a Red Bull.
that.
It scares me.
I've never had one either, so yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just wondering. I remember being in the service as well. Guys were just pounding nasty coffee, complaining about it, but that's what they needed. And I'm like, just give me a pop. It always tastes the same. Open the lid. It's always the same. It isn't good coffee, bad coffee. It's always Diet Mountain Dew. I found that my thing. All right.
Yeah. Well, my newfangled beverage of choice these days is sparkling lime water. So.
We've just gotten to an age, haven't we? Can I sparkling wine, please?
I'll just hydrate if that's okay.
It's amazing how much at an age people get used to it. You start thinking about your water intake because it helps with almost all the other functions in life. It's like, this is who I am now? My gosh. Yeah, but okay. Fair enough. We don't need to talk anymore about that. Want to ask you.
Fascinating radio. I don't know what your problem is.
Well, I want to give a quick boost to the client, and now we're talking old people water intake. Okay. Not all promos go the same. I want to ask you about this because it's very close with you. So if we walk the line, you tell me when to stop. I'm kind of mad at the insinuation, and it might be true, is my problem with what's going on with Senator Mitchell, Nicole Mitchell. And I didn't know the date, and I now know it because it was in the paper today. The 16th of June is when the trial has now been reset for. Yeah. Was set for in January, didn't want to do that because she's in session, so now it's June 16th. We'll talk about the actual lawsuit in a second. But it was right after the story that it seems like some of the Republicans aren't playing nicely at the Capitol today. Go figure that. And may not be going and doing what they need to do. Is there a possibility my team, and this will tick me off, hi, husband. Love when they walk around with the garbage out back. Okay, taking the garbage out.
He's putting the cushions out on the deck, isn't he? Nice?
I thought it was a bigger. Okay, you got your cushion.
Winter is over, so we can go hang on the deck.
You got to watch this show at some point on the YouTube thing. Okay, so husband walks by. Where was it? Oh, so if my team is doing this, it's going to bother me. The insinuation being is if we slow walk this thing, a lot of negative things happen that I presume they're saying falls on the Democrats. One is they came out with another rule. Wednesday got to be done by today at 7 o'clock. Well, that's not going to happen. They said last Wednesday at 7 o'clock. They said Friday. Okay. Doesn't happen today. Well, by Friday, if it's not done, people will be getting pink slips saying a month from now.
That's right.
So,
right.
So I presume everybody's calculating, well, if they do that and we keep up the way we're going, the governor will look bad because I presume his name's on the pink slip. I don't know. Anyway, so there's some game there. Okay, we still think this is going to get done before the end of the month. No one's going to lose any money. I can live with a little tension. But they're saying or hinting that maybe this is to get us to June 16th when you're reshuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic. Now it's 33-33. Let's start this whole process over because we're equal. You're shaking your head. Yes. If this is it, I'm very mad at my side.
Yeah, I mean, we went through this again. You know, I was a minority leader during the peak of COVID, and 2021 was a budget year. And we knew, because that was when there was all that federal money that was coming into the states because of COVID. And but the timing of it was bad for us to do our budget. And so we knew we weren't going to finish in May the way we were supposed to, but because we had sessions every day, 30 days because of the emergency
COVID.
order, we knew we could wrap that up. And so, but we watched the Republicans, you know, push till the very, very end, and it was not necessary, you know. And the problem is, yes, the government doesn't shut down until July 1st, but this is exactly right. They have to send out 30-day notice of potential layoffs. So without the budget in place, that's why June 1st matters. And the closer you get to July 1st, the more actual work is being done by actual humans on the taxpayer dime to prepare for a shutdown that everybody agrees is really not likely to happen. Right. Yeah. So there is actually a cost to these delay tactics. I will also say, you know, human nature being human nature, and the human nature of legislators is a special kind of human nature.
Yeah.
But the deadline does matter. I mean, that's why there is actual, even if once you recognize we are not going to actually finish by the end of Monday night, the official session, we're going to have to go into special session to wrap it up. You want as much lockdown as possible, because as much as is open, then you know, so that's why they're setting deadlines, you know. So, and then, but it's like, you know, you've got that teacher at school, oh, a deadline, well, you know, we'll just go past and we'll get a new deadline, you know. So it is not good on a bunch of cases, but I agree with you.
What is the what is the constitutionality of it? What bothers me about this, it's just a deadline. Our Constitution says by Monday, whatever day,
the third
Monday of the month, whatever.
Yeah.
This session, you have to have the budget done. That's the only thing you had to do. They didn't get it done, so then we didn't get it done. We'll set a new timetable. We'll do another thing.
Right.
What is the constitutional penalty for saying it's in the Constitution, but we didn't do it?
Shutdown and the pain that comes with a shutdown.
But that doesn't come to the people that didn't get their job done. It will come to the people that don't go to work.
Well, them too. And then they're the ones who put the pain. And believe me, I never lived through a shutdown. I lived through a bunch of special sessions. I would love to get that analyzed. I probably sat through more special, you know. I'm
just saying, I don't get why it's a constitutional amendment. It doesn't mean anything. If it doesn't mean, because here's what, if you want to make sure we get the budget done every 2 years, you say it is done by the third Monday, the Monday thing at midnight, or half of each team will lose their job and we'll have a special election to get somebody in who does it. Well, they'll start signing the legislation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of reasons that would be unconstitutional anyway. And I also think that would not be constructive, right? Because you would lose, because that all these things you create weird incentives that you're not thinking about, right? So the issue of time, like this whole thing about Russia and Ukraine, right? Right now, the notion of running out the clock becomes an incentive for Putin, right? So it's the same sort of thing here. If you've got the majority and the minority party, the running out the clock becomes an incentive for a minority party, right? Because, we can just blame the guys in charge because they couldn't get it done, right? And so that's the theory where everybody throws sand in the gears, is one of those many phrases said often around the legislature. These are the things that get manipulated, but that's why the more you can. The other thing that people haven't talked much about, you know, and I know we talked about the timing with a potential trial for a senator I know well, and then you have graduations and weddings and all sorts of stuff, and you know, we've got an issue in terms of people showing up to vote. and the incentives that puts on people. So, if you've got a bunch of Republicans who are going to be traveling, they may be trying to kick the can down the road because they know they're not going to have the votes they need.
Well, and we're going to go to a break on that. I will throw out with the Mitchell saying, careful what you ask for. If you push the gears back to the 16th, then this judge, who's already granted, I think, 2 postponements or whatever, the last one got into January, they didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Well, if we're still back in session now and that judge says, all right, next January then. Oh, wait a minute, you'll be in session then? We'll just have to go another year later. Watch what you wish for, Republicans. If this is the tactic, you could literally leave this person in power for another year if you think she's guilty. You know what I'm saying? Watch what you wish for.
Right.
You might get bit. We'll go to break. We'll talk a little bit about that trial as well because there's some strange stuff going on with the judge, and they're asking for him to take off half the charges. We'll talk about it. I got her, Senator Susan Kent, right after this.
Dust from gravel roads and driveways does more than make your car dirty inside and out. It gets down into your lungs, and it's bad for your health. Now there's an environmentally friendly solution for your dust problems. It's called DustLock. DustLock can control all your summer dust problems with just one application. Protect your vehicle and your lungs. Learn more at dustlock.com.
You know that car sound that sounds like a cricket playing a banjo? Jay's can fix that. You know when you step on the brakes and your car sounds like a pair of tennis shoes in the dryer? Paul is a guy who specializes in that. And you know that sound that never happens when the mechanic's around? Paul took a whole course on that. If you own a car, you need to know Paul. Paul owns Jay's Auto Shop, 202 North Main Street, Blue Earth, 525-1052, 525-1052.
It's nice to know a guy that knows a guy. Al Travis.
We've got her, Senator Susan Kent. I think we've been as fair, I think, as anybody on this in the radio world about Senator Mitchell's issue. I think she's got bigger issues than what this whole lawsuit is about, and that if she thought this was a great idea as far as checking on her mom, she's got issues. She's got kids that she's got to take care of, and this constantly being in the news with all this stuff, I just can't imagine it's helping the children in any way. So that being said, I want to give her as much slack as possible. We did her wrong. The state of Minnesota, this prosecutor up in Becker, you know what they call the hate crimes? You know, Senator, you kill somebody, but you really hated them, so you get a hate crime charge on top of that. I personally think just by killing, you got the hate. You don't have to have the hate charge on top. It seems like something we made up to make it us feel better that we knew why you did it.
Yeah, that's not why that's like that, but okay.
Well, for whatever your reasoning, if killing is killing, whether you hated the person, you didn't like the original, I don't care. The crime's a crime. Here's what they did to her. So she gets picked up for the burgle. Might have been burgling. We think she might be burgling. We're going to charge her with burgling. Things don't go their way. They push it off. She wins this thing. Well, we're also putting it down for having burgle tools. That's another felony. Well, no crap, Sherlock. If you think she was trying to burgle, she probably had the burgle tools. It seems like hogpiling. I know it's a 12-year-old term. We hogpiled on her. If she hadn't brought the burgle tools, she'd been a terrible burglar. It doesn't make sense. Dump that stupid thing. And the paper lays out that he says, well, that according to the prosecution, could then have a place if they don't want to throw her in jail because she burgled, but we'll get her for having burgle tools. It's if you can't get a person found guilty when you find him in the basement dressed as he was dressed with the stuff in the bag, if you can't win that one, don't have an exit strategy. You kind of crap at your job. You're shaking your head. I think they got to take it off. Forget it. If she did it without burgle tools, I don't know.
This is one of those where we don't know what all the evidence is, what all the stuff is, what all the thinking is on both sides. I do think, because when that first came out that they had added that charge, one of the things to me was, is that like, does that establish intent, right? Because she clearly wasn't going to go knock on the door if she's brought things to break in with, for example.
Well, and if she crawled through the basement window, she didn't ring the bell. I mean, it's like,
I know, but again, we don't know. So I think it's interesting that they have, the old, I think they do protest too much kind of deal.
Yes.
Really, it's like oh, it's all this piling on, and I forget the phrase that the lawyer used.
Hogpiling. That's my word. Hogpiling.
The legal term for the hogpiling. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I guess it's just, and again, because how do I put this? You and I, well, you're a senator. You probably get this treatment. Had I been the one in the basement found in the thing, there's no way this is a year and a half, 2 years later. And now with what's going on here, it could be pushed back again because she's still in session.
Special session, right?
I think there's a rule we should look at. For the good of the people, if you're picked up, let us, what is it? You have a right to a quick trial. Let's get this thing done so it isn't a thing Alan, Susan are talking about 18 months later, and how is it going to affect the vote for our money in the Capitol today? I don't know that the law shouldn't be the other way. If you get it, get a lawyer quick, because we're going to figure this thing out.
And because we love to make sure we're even-handed when we talk, you and I, Al, there are plenty of people on my side who would point to President Trump and the way his legal situation got extended out until he could make it all go away, right? So
I don't disagree, but we got to be, yes.
I'm agreeing. Yes. I'm agreeing.
Yep.
Totally.
Yep.
And, I think, and we've talked about this a little bit, I just think that the current rules don't fit where politics is right now, and it's a problem, because I absolutely, and believe me, because I've said this many times on this show because I like to be very clear about it. I issued a written statement asking Senator Mitchell to resign for the good of her constituents, of whom I am one. Yeah. And because it could have been done in a way that was timely, that would have allowed for a reasonable election cycle, and everybody could have had an opportunity, and then we could have had, we as the constituents, never mind the rest of the people of the state of Minnesota, because it's a close majority, would not be struggling with this, right? So there's a difference between what is legal and having your legal rights to a fair trial, because you don't necessarily, the speedy trial, there's a flip side of that, right? Because you don't want the rush to judgment if the defense doesn't have the time to fully build their defense, right? So
don't disagree. We use the Senator Eichhorn thing as an example. I'm not comparing the two cases. He was guilty. He said, I'm done. But it happens within weeks. I don't think he was out of jail. He either get his resignation, or we're going to go and we've already had the new vote,
special election,
especially, and now we're moving on.
Right, exactly.
That is so nice. If anything nice can come out of that, it's done.
It was exactly a year ago that I called for Senator Mitchell to resign, and that seat would have technically legally been a special election because it wasn't in the normal cycle of things, but it would have been on the November ballot with everything else last November. And that would have been the easy way to go about it. But here we are.
Here we are still talking about it, and we will because we get closer to 16 and January 16th or June 16th, and I believe that these Republicans are doing this for that reason. We'll be talking about it a ton on this program. I guarantee that because I'm
I
not
look
liking
forward
it.
to that.
I
I'll
try
do
to be
some
fair
homework.
with my squad.
Yeah.
I get it. I agree with
Yeah.
them a lot. I get that. I'm not happy with how anything's going with the special session so far. We'll talk about that on the other side with Senator Susan Kent. Love having her on the program. We'll be back after this.